Thank you so much. The term Marine is derived from warriors from the sea, soldiers from the sea, and we're amphibious in nature, so don't be surprised if it rains on us. Do not be surprised at all. I do want to start off with saying good morning, and in the Marine Corps we say, "Hoorah!" Hoorah! Thank you, Devil Dogs, appreciate that. I'm honored to be a part of such a wonderful tradition here in Glynn County. I'm humbled by the opportunity to represent the armed forces in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you, Colonel Nick Hart, for inviting me. The area is filled with patriotic Americans that understand the commitment to keep our freedoms and liberties intact. Over the course of my 2 years of living here in Southeast Georgia, I've never been greeted by so many thank yous for your service. When I was driving up 95, I had 3 people wave to me when I was in my dress uniform. And even though we are an all-volunteer force, I can assure you that it means a lot to everybody who wears this uniform every day. History has taught us, though, that it wasn't always this way. For that, I would like to personally thank all our Vietnam veterans in attendance. If America did not welcome you with open arms after you did your tour of duty, I want to say thank you very much for that. I was born in 1975, so I wouldn't have been born without that blanket of freedom, so thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, I want to introduce my color guard, what I'd like to call the premier color guard in Southeast Georgia, the Marine Corps Security Force Battalion. The color sergeant is Sergeant Mark Pearson. The Marine carrying the Marine Corps colors is Corporal Jacob Myers. The sailor carrying the Navy colors is Petty Officer Sean Bly. And last but not least, my rifle bearers, Lance Corporal Johnny Gonzalez and Petty Officer Gatlin Miller. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause. I demand a lot from them, and they always perform to the highest standards. And men, I wanted to personally say thank you for sacrificing your personal time to honor our heroes and be with us here this morning. Thank you so much. We are here to celebrate Memorial Day. The day is dedicated to those men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for us to gather here today and throughout the world. A few hours ago, American service members abroad held ceremonies in Asia and Europe. Well, my good friend Sergeant Major William Fry held one at Belleau Wood, and there's also another one in Okinawa and one in Japan. Throughout our country, there's gatherings being held coast to coast, as some of our speakers alluded to this morning. Differences and agendas are put aside to do what is right, and that's to honor our heroes. Our country truly unites on days like today, and we get it right. I'll share with you a personal story. In my family, we didn't really talk much about Memorial Day. There was no Gold Star families that lived in my neighborhood. I wasn't even aware if our city had a parade. I mention this to communicate my ignorance of such an important day. Like most of the element I associated with, we viewed Memorial Day as Monday off, look forward to going to the pool, maybe the beach, barbecue. My outlook would change greatly with a series of events, a very brief 2-month period that I'd like to share with you this morning. As my introducer said, I was part of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. We were not certain what to expect as we made our way into that country, but we were surprisingly welcomed by a lot of very nice people. I clearly remember the look on their faces as they would flash peace symbols and shoot the thumbs up at us and say thank you very much for us being there. They had that look in their face, and it was a beacon of hope called freedom. They didn't have a constitution to guide them to a more perfect union, no Bill of Rights. I was amongst a society that had no idea about the freedom that I have daily in America. Continuing on, we carried on to a city called Al-Nasiriyah, and it was a nasty city filled with Fedayeen fighters. I can't get in every detail because we'd be here all day, but everything that I thought that combat would be like came true that day. From machine gun fire to air support to overhead artillery rounds flying, overwhelming the enemy with our will, chaos, confusion, fog of war. We experienced it all that day. Regardless of all the circumstances, we were winning big. I'd been waiting 10 years to put my training to use, and to be honest, I was having a great time. There's nothing I like better than getting dirty, And I like fighting with men who would support such a brutal dictator that would rape women, that would murder their children, that would use chemical weapons against them. I was blessed and honored to handle that. But unfortunately that day, though, it wasn't all a picnic. We lost Marines. We lost 18 of them, to be exact. It was so much adrenaline pumping, you don't even have time to reflect on it. It's a blur, and you only focus on the next mission to prevent more friendly deaths. It didn't really hit me until the president declared an end to major combat operations, and we received orders to head back to Kuwait. Our commanding officer made a decision that before we crossed that border, we'd stop on the outskirts of Al-Nasiriyah and conduct a battlefield memorial to honor our 18 Marines. And it impacted me greatly. Memorial Day became much more clear to me, with a Kevlar helmet on top of an inverted rifle, with dog tags hanging from the pistol grip, boots laying at the base in a 45-degree angle, roll call being shouted in a formation, and a 21-gun salute firing in the air. Afterwards, Marines forming a line, waiting to kneel in front to say a prayer for their brothers and their families. I tell you, I was a changed man. Those that had gone before me would talk about it, but you never truly understand unless you've experienced it yourself. So this is my story of how Memorial Day became something much more meaningful to me. I also think about Corporal Jason Dunham, who shielded Marines from harm by cradling a grenade in his sacrifice. I think about a Marine from Combat Engineer Battalion named Corporal Jacob James, who stepped on an IED and now is at Afghanistan. He wasn't sure if he was going to live or die at that moment. And as the Marines and the corpsmen were treating him, applying tourniquets, he asked for a cigarette. After lighting it up, he sat up and looked out into the distance and stuck both hands in the air and gave the Taliban a one-fingered salute as that cigarette was still burning in his mouth. Hoorah! And he said, "You may have gotten me, but my brothers will damn sure get you." I celebrate these men today because our brothers and sisters would want it no other way. And neither would I. I grieve at the same time when I think of our history, though. Since the Civil War, over 1.6 million service members have lost their lives battling our nation's enemies. And none of them gave their lives without purpose, no matter the conflict. The freedom they have provided, none of us have ever lived a day without it. During the Civil War, 750,000 lives sacrificed. And amazingly, the same men, 50 years later, were united at Gettysburg after they had fought tooth and nail to honor Memorial Day. World War I, 116,000 lives sacrificed fighting in the trenches of Europe. World War II, 400,000 lives sacrificed. There's at least one World War II veteran here, part of the greatest generation. Thank you, sir. Delivering a knockout blow to a fascist regime. Love it. Love it. Vietnam, 58,000 lives sacrificed, fighting in the jungles with the craftiest enemy this nation has ever seen. And the over 6,800 cents with extremists who despise our very existence and will go to great lengths to harm us on our own soil. Be vigilant. Their sacrifice is not for nothing, but for the word I've mentioned 6 times this morning, freedom. As I look in this audience, I'm just awed by the experience and patriotism that I see this morning. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak today. May God bless all of you. May God bless our Gold Star families. And God bless America.